Oh boy.
Yo, what's up, Team Dink? Here we are back at the creek and we're looking for some brown trout. Honestly, today we have really high bluebird skies, so I'm not entirely sure what to think about that, but the good thing is we have a nice warming trend. It's really beautiful out today. I can't complain. Today's primary goal is to put these things right here to use. These are 4-inch Berkeley gulp minnows. I've heard really good things about these for trout. I've even seen some videos of other people using them with success, so I figure, hey, it's worth a shot. That being said, if they don't eat these, obviously I'm cool with using a spinner, and I'm also cool with moving spots and trying to catch some bass or bluegill or whatever wants to bite. Ultimately, I just want to catch a fish. Regardless, I'm rambling. Enough yipping yapping. Let's start casting busting. Let's go.
All right, like I said, let's use these Berkeley gulp minnows. Man, I've seen some videos of people whacking them on these things. Got myself a fresh pack right here. These are the 4-inch baits, so pretty sizable. I mean, I feel like the small brown trout probably won't eat it as good, but some of those bigger ones will probably clobber it. One thing I'll say about this random jig that I pulled out of my tackle box is it has thicker gauge hook than I would prefer. And there we have it. So one thing that's going to be extremely important as I fish this is for me to keep an eye on my bait and look for followers. The thing that my friend Dan told me about these brown trout is a lot of times when they swipe at it, like you've seen in my previous videos, they're trying to stun your bait. And part of the reason I wanted to tie this on is because I can actually just kill this and let it sink. Then it also has scent and it obviously will be able to look like a dead minnow, and I think they'll maybe return for it. That's the thought at least. Okay, I'm gonna be honest with you folks. I feel like this jig head's too heavy. This thing is immediately hitting bottom. I wanted to fish it actually weightless, but unfortunately I don't have any hooks. Literally have some really tiny bluegill hooks, but that's it. And they're way too small for this plastic. So I'm gonna stick with it, but in future videos, I'm probably gonna rig this on a much lighter weight because this, I think it's an 1/8, maybe 3/16. It's just too heavy for this pool. It's not deep enough. Deer muck boots. Look at me. I love you. The good old sound of muck boots slopping around in mud. You know, I tell you what, if the fish aren't biting, you can do some of this. It's very soothing. Oh, bank shot. Oh, you're kidding me. How did you snag? How did you snag? That was such a perfect cast. You're kidding me. That's another reason this big old heavy jig is just too much. You made a perfect cast at a beautiful pool, and it immediately snagged up because it's too heavy. Yeah. She gone.
Okay, folks, I tell you what, one thing I know about fishing is you can have a plan all you want, but the reality is those fish might have a different plan. So I am going to cater to the fish's needs, and I am going to put on a Joe's fly spinner. I genuinely think that is going to put us in a better position to catch fish, and ultimately that's what I want to do. I want to catch some trout, and while I do think that the Berkeley gulp will work, and I definitely envision myself catching fish on it in the future, I just don't think we have the right jig or hook with us today, and I'd rather just fish with something that I have more confidence in.
So I've got several colors. I've got chartreuse and pink and orange and this white and red color, but I actually like this yellow color. I don't know why, I just feel like it's gonna work. So that's what we're gonna do. No idea if it'll make a difference or not, but I went ahead and switched to pink. What's kind of cool is you can literally just switch the flies without having to retie, since it's just like a clamp-on spinner. Normally by now I would have had several fish roll on my spinner. I've made hundreds of casts with the yellow one, and now I've probably made 25 casts with the pink one. I haven't seen one single fish. Brown trout are weird fish, man. Some days they just hammer your spinner, some days they don't. What do you suppose happened to this bird right here? By golly, thing got torn to shreds.
Okay, folks, I'm gonna take a quick break and provide you with a little bit of an update. Overall, so far, the fishing's been extremely tough. I have yet to even see a trout. I can see my spinner from a mile away. The water's really clear, and that sun is just so dang high in the sky, bluebird skies. I think that's what's really hurting us. What we could use is a little bit of cloud cover, and who knows, maybe we'll get lucky and get it, but if we don't, I'm just gonna have to keep grinding. Patience will be my best friend today. Now, with all of that being said, I'm not mad, I am not frustrated, I'm just sticking with it. I'm just enjoying this. I'm by myself in the woods listening to the birds chirp and enjoying this beautiful, beautiful day. Folks, you cannot complain if the fish aren't biting when you have a situation like this. The fact that I even get to fish today is incredible. Regardless though, I know you're not watching to hear me talk about how much I love the outdoors. I know you're watching because you want to see me catch a fish, so let's go catch a fish. Let's go.
Fishing might be tough today, but I know they're here. Just takes one. If you really truly want to learn about a species, man, you got to fish all the different conditions. And by doing that, you're going to learn how they react different in different scenarios. There's a little running stream right here that flows into the water. It's really cool. And you hear it, but then there's these holes in the root system. You can see it coming through. Look, a freaking frog. Guys, oh, look. Oh, he swam back up. That's a good spot to hang out, Mr. Frog. Okay, so we just saw that little spring and how it flows in, and we saw the frog. That's really cool. Always paying attention to our surroundings, right? Well, take a look at this. This right here is actually the damage done by a woodpecker. And I believe this was probably done by a, I always pronounce it wrong. I think it's pileated. I'm not entirely sure how to say it. But essentially, they dig down in here looking for little insects and whatnot, larvae, and all the same stuff that probably falls in the water and trout will eat. Either way, it's always really cool. You can see these massive holes. They can do a ton of damage to these decaying logs. Super cool. Regardless, the point is, when you go fishing, when you go out in the outdoors, no matter what you're doing, just pay attention to your surroundings. Enjoy the fact that there's some really cool stuff around us. Enjoy the finer things in life. Like this turd right here. I don't know what it's from, but something decided to poop right on top of this. Very interesting. I just want to see one at least like swipe at it just to build some confidence. This is actually a little silver spinner that I made. It has a really tiny treble hook on it, so it's going to be important that I don't set the hook too hard and I just kind of let that rod absorb the fish. But first we got to get a bite to worry about that, so let's keep moving and grooving. Okay, so here's another cool example of paying attention to your surroundings. You see how small these holes are right here? These were likely done by a smaller species of woodpecker. I can't say that I know exactly what species, there's several types. You think woodpeckers ever like pay attention to me and they're like, you know what, I've observed a lot of humans and I just don't have any idea what that guy's doing. I can't help but notice all these woodpecker holes in all these trees. And the thing to remember is, a lot of people wonder, why do waxworms work so well for fish? A lot of that insect larva that's inside of the trees and the woodpeckers are eating, that's the same kind of stuff that can find its way in the water. There's a lot of dead and decaying trees in this area, and there's a lot of that insect larva inside of it. Is it crazy to think that if there's all this insect larva in these trees, there might be a few that end up in the water? Absolutely not. That's very normal. What is over there? Something massive flopping around. Oh my gosh. I think they're spawning steelhead. There's two going at it right now. Their tails are freaking that wide. Okay, let me get out my big camera, see if I can zoom in on them a little bit so you can see too. It's almost like they dance. It's pretty cool. This is super fun to watch. These are big fish. These are the first two I've seen all day. I'm honestly surprised I've only seen two. Oh man, that's so cool. Dude, I just got a good glimpse of their side. Such gorgeous fish. Hope you guys got some clear visuals with my other camera. I don't have a bigger lens. Eventually I'd like to invest in one, but they're kind of expensive.
Okay folks, obviously the fishing has been really tough today. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit flustered, but I was trying to see the positive, trying to stay optimistic. And then I stumbled across these two steelhead, and I gotta say, that has made my day so much better. It's just super cool to witness this behavior in the wild. I don't know, it's something that I'm obviously not used to. Being from Kansas, steelhead was completely different to me. Trout in general are really different to me. And that's why it's just really neat to see them. I'm gonna keep walking upstream. We'll see what we can find. I mean, I would like to catch a fish today. At the bare minimum, maybe I'll hit a pond after this, try to catch a bluegill or something, just so I don't get skunked. But overall, I gotta say, this has been excellent. I'm really having a good time.
Holy freaking crap. Look at this. Thing fell all the way across the river. That is not an old situation right there. And that's exactly what I was talking about earlier. There's all this bug larva in these trees. Well, this one just fell in the river. You gotta think, any of those insect larvae that was in there probably fall into the water, and the trout are just chomping that right up. That is super interesting. Man, that is sketchy. I would not want to be in front of that tree when it falls, because that is a big son of a gun. That would just flatten you like a pancake, man. Really nice looking pool. Okay, I'm gonna give that 5 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll pull it, and then I'm gonna reel it slow. Come on, come get it. Oh, good fish, just bit it. That was my first bite of the day. Dang it. I'm so mad at myself right now. This little tiny hook is on there. I told myself to let the rod absorb the fish, but I set the hook way too hard. I've probably walked 3-4 miles minimum, and this is the first pool out of like 1,000 that I've fished that has actually produced a bite. So ultimately, you just got to count that as a win and keep moving and hope that there's more upstream.
Okay. Obviously, I'm very exhausted right now. Here's the thing, folks. Whether it's a good day of fishing or a bad day of fishing, when it comes to trout fishing, I always try to take home some key learnings. To be quite honest with you, today I've had a really hard time determining What am I supposed to take from this tough day of fishing? Well, there's a couple things really. The first one is that you can't control what happens on the water, and you should always just enjoy the process. And today was definitely one of those days where I was obviously frustrated, I'm flustered, I really wish I would have caught a fish. I literally had one bite and it took me probably 4 hours to get it and I missed it. I mean, that just stinks. You can look at the negative, you can focus on the fact that you didn't catch fish, or you can focus on the positive and the beauty of the world around me today. I saw steelhead, I saw wildlife, I enjoyed time outside. How can I complain? The second thing that I think I can take from today's trip is the fact that I know there are fish in this stream. I've seen them, I've caught them, and yet they can completely shut down. So ultimately what I'm gonna learn from that is that when I'm checking out new waters, I'm not gonna count it out just because I have a bad first trip. I'm going to return, I'm going to trust the process. I don't know why the fish didn't bite today. Is it something to do with the bluebird skies? Maybe. Is it something to do with time of day? Maybe. I can't say for sure. But ultimately what I can say is there are fish in there and they just didn't show up. So that is what it is. At this point, it's all in my past. There's no sense in worrying about it. What I am gonna do is I'm gonna go to a pond and try to catch a dang bluegill because I cannot go home without even just a little bit of fish on my hands. So I'm gonna hike back. Honestly, I have no idea how far away I am from my car. It might be 5 miles for all I know. It's seriously a long ways away. But I'm gonna hike back to my car, I'm gonna drive somewhere, and I'm gonna try to catch a stinking bluegill because I'm fed up. I'm fed up with tough fishing. I gotta go find a bluegill. Let's go.
Okay, here's the deal. I get in my car and I still have some coffee. Now, is this coffee still hot? Absolutely not. It's definitely lukewarm. But I need the energy, folks, because if we're gonna go catch a bluegill, we gotta have some energy. So let's drink it. It's not refreshing. I can tell you that much. It's definitely not refreshing.
Okay, folks, here we are. We are now to a new pond. I've never fished here in my life. I don't even know if there's fish here, but we're gonna try to catch some bluegill. Hopefully they exist. That being said, I do want to make something very clear. I fished for over 4 hours for trout, and I hiked for like freaking 20,000 steps. So I'm exhausted, but the only thing that's gonna make me feel better is a big old bluegill. So let's see what we can do. You already know what rig we're gonna use. Little bobber over the top of a 1/80th ounce mule jig with some Berkeley gulp maggots. Okay, let's hope this works. I gotta go over there where maybe the wind is a little bit more chill. Ooh, I found the spot, baby. We're gonna be slightly protected from the wind right here. It's gonna be hard to cast, but I guarantee there's gonna be fish right here. This is actually like a little outflow drain. The water's pulling through this little pond and going into a creek behind us. The wind is blowing this way, brush in the water, got the sun on this bank, there's current, everything's stacking up, folks. I just broke off my jig in a tree, which is excellent, but then I noticed this big old dead fish behind me. I was wondering why it smelled so awful over here. I've already got this guy rigged up, might as well fish him. Technically it could catch some big bluegill, definitely could catch bass, crappie, we'll see. Oh yeah. Oh boy. Oh boy. It's a bass. Oh my gosh, he's pulling so hard. 2 pound test, my friends. I knew this spot looked good. Man, it's so hard to fight him. I'm in the middle of a bunch of trees right here. 2 pound test, and it's a nice bass. Oh, I'm so exhausted right now, but I'm so pumped. There we go. Little mule jig for the win. Tell you what, folks, bass like that on 2 pound test is a blast. I knew this little slider would work. Always does. These things are great little baits. Gotta give them credit. Oh my gosh, guys, I'm so exhausted, but I tell you what, hard work pays off. And the other thing is, never be afraid to pivot and have a plan B. That's a beautiful little bass right there. I'll take him. All right, buddy, thank you. Thank you for the fight. I'm exhausted, guys, but I'm stoked because we're not gonna be skunked today. I've got so much hours of footage of me just casting and winding and talking to a camera, and I have very, very little footage of me catching fish. But hey, that's fishing for you, folks. And one thing that I strive to do is be realistic. Oh, fish. I was gonna say, some people, you know, have access to good waters and they just smoke fish every time. That's simply not me. I mean, sometimes, oh my Lord. God, this on 2 pound test, my friends. It's just a blast. It's a gorgeous fish. Here she comes. Oh, get over here. Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Oh, another little one. Not bad. Long, skinny fish. Not bad. All right, how do you like that? Choked it. Oh man, a little 1/32 ounce mule jig with a Charlie Brewer slider. It's a match made in heaven, my friends. All right, you scrawny fella, go back now. All right, see ya, buddy.
2 bass turned our day around, folks. What I was trying to say is basically, I have to work pretty hard to catch these fish, and I know all of you do too. It's not always easy. Yeah, I've got some bodies of water which are really high percentage, but I've got a lot of bodies of water which are really tough. I just think there's a lot of YouTubers out there that make it seem like the fishing's extremely easy. You gotta remember, everybody goes through tough days. Whether or not they show them on the internet, that doesn't matter. Here's the thing I do want to say. This drain right here is clearly the reason that I'm catching bass. There's an outflow of water, and that's pulling current through. You know, this is a small body of water, and anytime you have a consolidated amount of current, I'm telling you folks, you gotta target that spot. Oh my Lord, I couldn't set the hook. Essentially one comes up and popped the crap out of it, but I couldn't set the hook because I'm super tucked into a bunch of trees. So I tried to set the hook and I hit a tree and it gave it too much slack and the fish got off. Drainage pipe was good to me, but it seems like it's run out. I think that was a pike, folks. Just a clean slice. I just felt a little bite and then I pulled and it was just butter, just cut it. Well, unfortunately that was the only swim bait we had. So I guess that means that my day is over. To be quite honest with you though, I probably do need to be leaving.
Oh my gosh, we're back in the car, and I tell you what, I have to give credit to one thing today. Not the plastic, not the mule jig, the drainage pipe. The drainage pipe absolutely is the reason that I was able to catch some fish today. The other thing is that I am actually kind of happy that the trout fishing sucked, and here's why. If the trout fishing would have been good, I probably would have never left. I would have caught trout and then I would have went home. Because it was super tough, I came here, I found a new body of water which has bass, and I caught some bass on 2-pound tests, which is always a good time. I guess the moral of the story is that having a plan B, C, D, E, F, G, Z, pretty much if having backup plans is clutch, and sometimes they pay off. Today they did. I was coming here for bluegill. I quickly switched to bass, caught 2, a pike bit off my bait, and now we're going home. I have been fishing for a very long time. I am extremely exhausted and I want a sandwich. So I'm gonna go do that. See ya.